Welcome to the Run Amok Podcast.
To behave or run around in a wild, unruly, out of control manner.
Run Amok! Run Amok! We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, and fled out to sea. Run Amok! Run Amok! Run Amok! Run Amok! Hello and welcome to the Run Amok Podcast, home to the best Bachelorette recaps on this side of New Mexico. As always, I'm your host, David Stahl, and I'm joined alongside me by my loyal compadres, Carson Cooper and producer Gary. Now, later, we'll be joined by our good friend Caleb. We're going to be breaking down all the drama from the NBA Finals. But before we jump into one of our favorite shows in the world, The Bachelorette, Week 7, another fantastic episode, fellas. It's time. We haven't done this in a while. It's time to get the yellow gloves out. It's time to get out the mops. Get out some brooms. Get out the rakes. We might be taking a look at the gutters. It's time for some house cleaning. First and foremost, we gotta clean the house because
It's been a minute.
Guess why? It has been a minute. Guess why though, guys? Do you know why we have to do some housekeeping? Do you want to take a little stab?
Nothing comes to mind.
It's because we're growing, dude.
Sure.
Because,
All right.
It's because we got new listeners and viewers joining the pod. First things first, I want to say welcome to everyone hopping aboard. And I also want to, if you will, we don't do any advertisements. We don't do any wasted time. We're going to jump into the show, but I want to send people over. If you want updates on the podcast, clips, we throw a song of the week up every week. We throw up the best mood board on Instagram at Juncture Magazine. It's literally just the YouTube or the iTunes or the Spotify like platform that you're listening on now, at Juncture Magazine, just as it's spelled, on Instagram, one word, no characters. And we do some fashion archives. We look at pop culture. It's just a fun mood board.
We have a little bit of everything for everybody.
For sure. Yeah. And I think a lot of it is geared towards someone who's really into pop culture, right? We do a lot of film, fashion, sports, television, music, etc. And also keep sharing with your friends. We're growing and we want to hear from you too. Like, we've gotten some cool comments recently. We've had people shout out to Lori Mary.
Yep.
Who, I want to give her a
absolutely.
shout out. She was saying, "Oh, it's great. I can't wait to hear more from you guys. Great to hear a guy's perspective." Awesome. I hope we are able to offer another perspective. At the same time, we're just three dudes. We want a new perspective. Tell us what you're thinking, what you disagree with us about, what you agree with us about, any crazy theories. I will say, spoiler-free zone. No spoilers, but hit us with those crazy theories. We had another person comment, "Oh, just so you know, Greg came, he signed up for Claire's season," because I remember I said, "Oh, he signed up for some season, but I didn't know which one it was."
Right.
There we go. Perfect.
Now we know.
Like, and the last thing I'll say here is that, like, as we grow, the goal with this is not to become the biggest podcasters on the planet. It's not to make a bunch of money every episode. We love this show. We didn't just fall into it. We're not hopping on a bandwagon. We watched long before we did a podcast about it. And hopefully you'll kind of be able to tell through references to obscure seasons and obscure contestants. And we just genuinely love the show. So kind of building out a community that's kind of chatting about it back and forth, people who are watching, that's very cool. So we appreciate you. And yeah, awesome. So if you guys are ready to roll, let's not waste any of the people's time, because we have yet another fantastic episode of The Bachelorette via Katie.
Yes, we do.
To us via Katie Thurston. Now, first things first, cutest thing ever, dude. I realized we've got a little bit of a pattern forming on this season. My dog is obsessed with this season. I don't know if it's Katie, and she's a cat person too. Yeah. It's crazy. She doesn't run downstairs for any other show. I throw on The Bachelorette, whips downstairs, and is like there, focused, glued.
She knows it's a good season. She's been watching for a while. She's like, wow, finally Finally, a good season.
We say this every week now, but like, let's just appreciate how good this season is.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
it's so good.
and I mean, happiness is a product of expectations, and we
Absolutely.
were not. We were optimistic, but cautiously optimistic.
Very cautious.
And it's pulled through, man. I'm into it. I think it's gonna be very interesting down the stretch. Are we gonna have multiple guys walk away
Oh my
after
gosh.
hometowns? I don't know. Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But the first thing we hear, Gary, I know you missed the first few minutes, but the first thing I heard when I turned on the TV was Brendan saying, "What do you say?" I wrote it down. He was like, "Look, I'm desperate and my back is against the wall." Well, that's one way to put it, my man. I wouldn't even say, I think there's a point past desperation where you can just be in kind of a blissful acceptance of your situation, which he gets to very quickly.
He does. Yeah. He gets humbled quite quick.
Yeah. Now, I want to bring up one tidbit too that popped into my brain as we were starting this episode. In seasons past, an iconic thing that we kind of always get is a shot of the Bachelorette waiting either to propose or be proposed to.
Mhm.
We haven't seen that. We haven't seen Katie in a dress up on a podium, in Tasha's case, in the middle of the Mojave Desert. Like, I don't know.
You're right. At this point in the season, usually like at least by hometowns, we do have that, that kind of very vague preview of an engagement, and we haven't seen that at all.
We haven't, we don't know what
we
happens.
haven't even got like the Vegas teaser of
nothing
anything.
to that extent. Yeah,
and we know it ends early. So I have a theory. I have a wild theory. I have a wild theory later, but we'll get there. We're not quite there yet. Let's start off by jumping into to Greg's one-on-one. I don't know if we're gonna have a ton to say about this.
I have a point to say about that, and I thought we're scraping the bottom of the barrel for this one, but this date really showed me how awful the scenery is around that place. We threw up a fish market. We threw up a makeshift fish market in the middle of the desert. And it's just like everything to me just didn't make any sense. I mean,
well, I actually didn't mind the fish market as much because they always try to recreate the person's city and it never works.
But we're trying to recreate Seattle.
Yeah,
in the desert.
First of all, is there ever been a bigger contrast? Urban Seattle, which rains constantly and is full of buildings, versus a barren desert. But my biggest problem, did you see that football field? It was a brief wide shot.
Well, that was also the point.
Pure desert.
Desert. And I'm convinced there was no grass there. That was spray paint right on the sand.
Right on.
And a couple makeshift uprights thrown up.
Yeah. What do you think the uprights were made out of? I have to assume pool noodles. Just duct tape. Scotch. They couldn't even get duct tape for it. There's Scotch tape in them.
Listen, and
from where I don't know.
I missed the first 15 minutes of the episode, so I didn't see any of this, and I feel like I'm just part of a bit right now. Like you guys are just making shit
dude,
up.
it looked. I'm gonna get the screenshot for you.
And a football, like they made a football field.
And they made a fish market.
They tried. Yeah, it didn't go well.
And the best part was too, they're throwing that fake fish back and forth, and Greg's like, "I'm just having the best day." Like, no, you're not, dude. You're throwing back and forth a slippery, fake, rubbery fish, dude. That's the best day. Like, don't lie to us.
Reminds me of that Michael Scott quote. Who's like, when people say being fired was the best thing that ever happened to them, I feel sorry for them. The best thing, really? No thanks, not for me. It's like the best day ever. But dude, I think there's got to be a chance. I'm like 10% joking. There's got to be a chance that Katie forgot Brendan was around, right? Like she forgot he was there, and
Brendan forgot Brendan was around. Like, there's no way anybody had a clue that, except for the guys in the house, I guess. But I still to this day I'll be flabbergasted.
He thought he was at a boys retreat for the first 5 weeks, and he's like, "Oh shit, I'm on a TV show right now."
Yeah. Now, the one notable thing that we did get in the date, because it was kind of a nothing date, is we do get the "I'm falling in love with you," and we're looking for that every season. But I realized it yesterday, like in a real, maybe I'm wrong, but in a real life relationship, that's not a step. Like, that's the most ambiguous assertion and validation ever. And yet every season, it's
but on this show,
like
that means so much. Yeah, exactly. It is the holy grail.
told after a job interview, like, well, you're almost hired, and you then like showing up to the job on Monday, like,
yeah, exactly. And you heard
No.
after he said that, what Katie said in the confessional, she was just like, that's exactly what I need to hear. Those were the exact words I need to hear on this date.
Yeah.
Like, all right, like, yes. I mean, I love you probably would have been better.
Yeah.
And I was there, but
I'm not rooting against them either. I'm also like, I wouldn't even call myself a Greg hater. I'm cautious. I'm a little skeptical. I'm just being a little cautious because nothing is on this show is this perfect. And I don't know. It's just, it was borderline. It's just been borderline too smooth a road for them. I feel like a storm is coming, pun intended, because we do get a hell of a rainstorm. And then I looked on Twitter.
Sorry, Gary. Did you see the rainstorm part?
Oh, I saw the rainstorm.
Okay.
And, the one person I was watching with was like, wow, that was a crazy coincidence that it just started raining like that. I was like,
I'm an
oh
idiot.
my God, you cannot think that was
I'm a
real.
fool, dude. I'm a fool. My gut instinct was like, oh my God. Like, I swear, I
No,
believe,
you
and
didn't.
then I realized after, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it is fake. I came to it on my own, but
yeah.
For the first, honestly, the first 15 seconds, I was just captivated by how beautiful it was.
You know
Nothing
what's
hotter than a rainstorm.
Very fair that you felt that way because you're watching from a television at your home. Greg was there and somehow convinced himself it was real. Did you see his face when he was standing there and all of a sudden some guy on probably a ladder hanging over the set is sprinkling down with a hose? His jaw drops like he's never seen rain before.
Well, and some guy on a
even if it was real rain,
yelled out to turn on the turn on the rain.
Water!
Like, holy shit, where does this water come from?
Well, dude, I got fooled before. I think it was Serena P and Matt who had the snow come down. I got utterly fooled by that too. I watched too many rom-coms, dude. I love a good rom-com, and I've been fooled once or twice. But yeah, dude, I get nothing hotter than a rainstorm. But we also do get I'm an idiot, dude. It literally looked like Katrina. Like, it looked like a hurricane.
Yeah, looked like a storm.
Looked like the levees had broken yet again. Yeah. But, and then we move on, and we do get Katie asking Greg over and over, like, "Are you good? Like, are you gonna leave?" That's not a good sign.
No, it's not. And you were talking about how you're not a Greg hater, and I'm not a Greg hater either. But Greg does kind of, I guess, bother me to an extent because he's a little whiny throughout this whole process, and very whiny.
Very whiny.
And we called this. I mean, we called this from the beginning of the season when he got that initial first impression rose. He had that awesome one-on-one date. We knew that that's only going to lead to jealousy down the line because you're probably not going to have very much intimate time with her, at least one-on-one, for a considerable amount of time if you make it the distance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this whole time, he's just, every time he gets to see her, it's like, oh, it's been a really rough week for me. Like, it's been really tough. Like, I'm really jealous, essentially. And it's just like, dude, that's the game, man. At the end of the day, that is the game you're playing. And here goes the game counter again. But
no, I totally agree. He's given me, and I'm just realizing this now. I don't know if we have a lot of Winnie the Pooh fans listening, but very strong Eeyore.
Little
vibes.
Eeyore.
Very
Yes,
Eeyore.
absolutely.
Yeah. Like in his eyes, very much too. But I will say
Droopy
this.
kind of,
I saw some people on Twitter, because Greg has a lot of lovers. He also has a lot of haters. I saw people on Twitter going after Greg for, then he has us.
Sitting on the fence.
Sitting on that. I know how to ride a fence. Now, for his lack of emotion though, or his lack of outward passion or emotion. I mean, come on. We're talking about, he went to acting school. He's a great actor, blah, blah, blah. And now he's not emotional enough for it. You got to pick a side.
Yeah.
You got to pick a side.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You can't say he's hamming it up too much and then he's not into it enough. You got to pick a side and then critique from there. Let's talk very briefly about Brendan's visit. Look, I respect him for going up to her room. Because we know from talking to Ed and Kenny from Tasha's season, and if you're listening, you haven't watched those interviews, they're available on our YouTube channel and podcast feeds. Great interviews, really interesting guys. that those roast ceremonies and those days are very long. So he may have saved himself like 36 hours potentially, right? Just by expediting the process, essentially sending himself home. Sure. I think she was genuinely confused when he walked in, not because she was like, Brendan, what are you doing here at my room? Like, Brendan, what are you doing at the hotel? Like,
what are you
did
doing
you
on
off
the
gate? Did you quarantine? Like, she thought he pulled a Bennett, like got sent home last week and then came back for us. Like, no, dude, this is he's still in his room. Yeah. I've never seen a lead less broken up after a break.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing there at all. And you know what? I mean, pretty much up to Brendan's standards. I mean, I think he sees it as if he were to get that one-on-one date, then that would kind of solve all their issues. And obviously he didn't. But you got to think, if you're Brendan, like, oh, wow, I really haven't said 2 words to this girl like all season. So what good is one day spent with her? Like, that's not going to change her mind. So I don't know.
I do think he went into the room. Like I said, I respect him expediting the process, which is what he ended up doing. But I do think he went in thinking he was going to get a one-on-one. No, I think he thought he was going to walk away with a one-on-one and ultimately marry her.
Well, I think he was playing this whole season like he's like, fuck, I'm going home next week. I'm going home next week. I'm going home next week. And then he never went home and he's like, shit, I might have a shot.
I didn't bring enough shirts.
Yeah. So might as well go shoot my shot now if I.
That's a good point, Gary. It's just like he seemed like he was on the defensive the whole time.
Yeah.
Just like prepared to go home, to the point where like he never really took a leap at all to you know make any sort of real connection with her.
Yeah.
Too late.
If you guys are ready, let's jump into that group date. Because my thoughts were like look, I'm happy that whatever. I don't really care that Greg got the one-on-one. I don't think it was some big like tragedy that he got another one. Hey, she can do whatever she wants. It's her show. If she really likes someone and wants to see him more, then great. Go have a day.
There are no rules.
There are, but there's one thing we know about this show.
Hunter's at home right now, punched in the air. He's like, I told him the second person to get the one-on-one date is going to be the winner.
Yeah, he's pumped. He's jacked up. Yeah, he's punched in the air. I can't quite reach, but he's trying, dude. Shout out to Hunter, man. We love him. Now, the only one, though, in my opinion, like really needed the one-on-one realistically is Michael A. Like, we're at hometowns. It's either I was honestly rooting for. Slow down, viewers. Slow down, Bachelor Nation. Let me finish the sentence. I was rooting for him to go home because I don't think that they're going to end up together. I don't think Katie is necessarily ready for that. Like, it's just a very heavy situation.
Well, you're just hopping into a lot of responsibility right off the bat.
Yeah. And okay, you might meet his parents. I'm thinking you might meet his wife's parents. His deceased wife's parents. I don't know. I don't think I'm pretty confident locking this in. I don't think we're meeting his son.
No, I don't think we're meeting James.
Think so?
I think we would have dude, the Bachelor producers are not above milking that kid. They would have shown some previews of him if he was coming up, I think. But I don't know. I don't know. It was a fun date. I guess now Blake talking about the women's self-portrait. That was the funniest moment of the season.
Yeah, that gave me a good laugh.
Was like, that would have been me. Can we all agree that would have happened to me?
Definitely a David moment right there.
It's not really for me. I think it's kind of messy. I don't like the colors. Oh, it's a self-portrait. Yeah.
I see it. I mean.
Also, going back to the no jerk off, I don't know if that's still in place.
I think they forgot about it. I think
they forgot about it.
They probably forgot about it.
You can't have them looking at oil painting porn and then still have that in place, regardless of how messy one finds it. It's still a little charged for that. But let's talk about Blake's painting. Was there any doubt that it was gonna be super explicit?
No. I mean, we obviously know him as a very on this show, especially a very sex positive person. Just like Katie is also. I didn't know where he was gonna go when all I saw was a black canvas at first. When everybody else kind of had their very abstract paintings going of sushi and roses and stuff like that, and all he had was just black paint splattered all over the place. And then
I thought initially he just painted it all black, but then it looked like it was like censored after.
No, I think he painted it black and then painted over it.
This was a big debate we were having. We're like, did he paint it black and then he did something over it and then they censored it, or did they censor it the whole time?
Oh, I thought.
No, I think you're both I'm disagreeing with both of you. I
Yeah.
think it was a full censor. I
The
think we
whole
couldn't
time.
see
Oh.
any of it.
The
I don't
whole
think we
time.
saw any. Yeah, I don't think any of it was
But-
showable.
But there was a point where he had black paint like on
And
his
he was
brush
going
and it
like
showed him
this
scooping it up, and he was just
through the
going
whole
like
thing.
this.
Oh, I missed that. Okay, either
But
way, we
either
need
way
to
doesn't
see the
matter.
whole thing. I want to
We
see the
need to
whole
see the
thing.
final product.
Yeah.
For sure.
Agreed. Yeah.
But okay, I want to get into Justin's art though. That's what I'm a little bit more concerned with, because we've seen Justin's work before. First night, beautiful rose creation, gorgeous. Now, this time, I believe the only other time we've seen his art until later in the group
Mhm.
date, a beautiful rose once again in the center of
Yeah.
the painting. And then, like Blake said, the rest of it looked like he did it in the dark with his left foot.
Yeah.
It looked
Yeah.
like trash.
It looked like finger painting.
So
A
what
child.
I think is that our boy started taking art classes in quarantine. Lesson 1 was a rose, or he
Oh,
was just like,
no.
I
Yeah.
think this dude can straight up only paint a rose. That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
He did
And
paint a rose later on too. So
he
yeah.
painted a rose later
Yeah.
on, looked beautiful. It's like, dude, can you do anything? And he wrote like, "Oh, I'm a painter," thinking it wouldn't come up, and it's just
And it
happened to
sure
come
did.
up 8 or 9 times this season.
Now, would you go as far as calling him a bit of a phony?
I'm like, the word in my head right now is fraud. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
I think
know.
it's fair. I think it's fair.
It's just very rose centric. And then I saw someone on Twitter suggesting he might not be painting anything at all. He might be being handed these paintings. But I think on day 1 he was doing it in front of her.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah, but that rose still wasn't the most impressive of roses. The one he actually did paint. Like,
Yeah.
I could do that. I'll say that, but like it
No,
wasn't
of course not. We couldn't,
anywhere
no.
near to the degree of the painting we saw later on, or the initial one we saw, right?
Yeah, I think he
That's not a bad
I think
theory.
he got 2 classes in, and
Yeah.
he learned how to do a rose, and he was like, "This is what I need to prioritize," and thought he could skate by doing all roses. What if that's all
maybe
it
he was just like sandbagging. Maybe he's like, I don't want to show these guys up. I don't want to
Maybe.
like just shit on the competition. I'm just gonna.
And you know
Take
what?
a
It was a
back
very
seat.
kind of like light and fun day. Like they're all kind
It
of
was.
joking
Yeah,
with each
maybe
other.
they
Like,
were just shooting the shit. He's just like,
yeah, he
whatever.
just kind of painted something
Yeah.
real quick. Like, who knows?
Yeah, totally. But and
or
number
he's a
2,
fraud.
or he's a fraud. Yeah,
Or he's a
yeah.
phony.
I prefer to believe that he's a big giant fraud and go
I
with my
think so.
conspiracy theory. Then we go to the sort of cocktail. That's not what the after party is
Yeah.
what we refer to it as, and we get a seed of doubt from Katie on Blake, which
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever seen that in previous edits. That came out of nowhere for me. That caught me off guard.
Yeah, I thought he was going home just because of that. I was like,
Wow.
wow, he's not getting a rose straight up. Like I
Well,
thought
I
it
was
was.
worried.
I thought
I think-
everyone else was a lock, and then Blake was just like that one seed of doubt we didn't see with anyone else. I was like,
Yeah,
His
I think
run's
the
over.
preview last week may have showed him in the confessional saying, "I told her I didn't love her," or something like that.
Yeah, well, that was a very hard cut, eh?
Yeah, it was a very so
Yeah.
that's why I took it with like a bit of a grain of salt there.
Yeah.
mhm.
And so like when it actually came out in context, it didn't seem as bad as that preview obviously led on at all. Like he was just saying like I'm not quite there yet, but obviously the guy came in 2 weeks ago, like he just showed up.
Yeah.
I don't think she expects him to be in love, and I think she
No.
kind of appreciates that honesty, like he
Oh,
said.
yeah,
Like
it'd
I'm
be
always gonna be
sketchier
honest with you.
if he was. Yeah.
And but I did kind of think like you said, Gary, in comparison to the conversation she had with the other guys, like I thought, oh shit, Blake might be in
Yeah.
trouble here. But sure enough, he got the first rose of the actual rose ceremony.
He did, yeah. I was worried, but we get a great connection in this group date, and it ends up being validated later with Justin, who's really
Yeah.
I don't mean to speak for you guys, really snuck up on us. To me,
Not me. I had him my rose like 6 weeks in a row. I'm Justin's number one
did.
fan.
You did. You are Justin's number one fan. Now, let me see if you guys are on board with this. I'm
Mhm.
comparing him and their connection very much to Serena P and Matt James of last season, because we got
yeah.
to hometowns and it was like, where did
Yeah.
this come from?
Yeah.
And they're talking about like Serena P, like I might have the strongest connection with Serena P, or like blah 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 blah. And they had
Yeah.
kind of like a nothing one-on-one early. Justin's was obviously later, but that was
Later,
kind of a nothing. And you're like, where did this come from? And then they're suddenly at hometowns. I don't know.
Yeah, they kind of snuck up and all of a sudden had the strongest connection. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
apparently, yeah.
crazy. I mean, we're meeting their family, and we've barely even seen them together.
We're pretty
Yeah,
much
but-
meeting Justin too. At the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
I have
being
a
honest.
brief off-topic question for you two. Do we have on record somewhere or written down somewhere our draft picks?
Well,
Because
We're gonna have to
I'd
go
like to
listen
know
back.
I'd like to know if I still have a horse in this race, and I can't remember.
Certainly, and we don't have it on record, but I
Yeah.
know that I think it was week 3 that we did it.
Yeah,
So
it
I'll
was.
go back. I'll go back into the archives, and I was thinking that many times last night, and I'll tell you why
Because you have Blake.
after the break. No, I won't tell you why after the break. I'll tell you why when we get into rose ceremony, because I do have a spicy stipulation for whoever has Andrew, but we'll get into that. But on this group date, I wrote down at the time, and then I ended up unfortunately being right. Like Andrew, again, seems like a great guy. I really, really like him. This, I'm not saying him, but this relationship feels a bit immature to me. It feels to me puppy dog like a great fun young love, a crush, something that's not surface level, because they have had some deep conversations. I'm not saying that this is bad. It just feels a bit behind everyone else's, especially ahead of hometowns. I don't know if you guys shared those sentiments, because a lot of people were shocked that Andrew went home.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, like it's not that they didn't scratch like they went beyond surface level topics, like absolutely. So I don't know really what to pin it on, but like there was something about their conversations that just had a little too much innocence, I think, to them to a degree where a bit of that, like kind of that puppy dog love, and like the giddiness was almost lending itself to more of a very early relationship in life.
And there seemed to be like that lingering nervousness, which is really nice. But when you're moving at this pace, look, in a regular life environment, you're fine at 3 weeks in to still have that nervousness that kind of stops you from getting real deep. That's totally fine. I just don't know if they're moving at a rapid enough pace, which again maybe lends itself more to a real life sort of relationship.
For sure.
But,
in the within the context of the show, absolutely. Like, I don't think it was really not progressing as fast as it was with the other guys, but maybe outside of the show in a different time frame, you never know.
We'll see. But hey,
maybe this time frame.
I'm catching on.
we'll touch on Andrew a bit more when we get to the roast number. But first things first, we got to jump in. We don't have to spend a ton of time on it. But Mike P's one-on-one. Let's get into it.
I don't want to talk about this.
One tiny tip, my man. One tiny tip. Maybe mention your mom. A tiny bit less, just a little bit less, while spooning with
straddling
another woman.
That was the worst
my
one.
man.
Oh my God.
Bro,
Dude, he said it
so
9 times to the camera, and I assumed that was it. I was like, oh, super weird. But thank God he didn't say to her, just say it to the camera all you want. But thank God he kept saying, oh, she reminds me of my mom. And he was getting real, like, I love my mom. But we don't need to spill out all the wonderful childhood memories I have with her. You say, oh, she used to massage my head. I used to put my head on her lap. Stop it. I love you, Mike P. Super nice guy, but please stop it. And then
I know.
Spooning.
The whisper.
And he looks at her nowhere.
The whisper.
He goes, you remind me of my mom.
Oh my
smokes.
gosh, David!
And
I was thinking the exact same thing as you. He said it 100 times to the camera, and I was like, okay, at least like I have confidence he'll just let this sit here. He won't bring this outside of the confidence of the cameraman. No. And then he looks her dead in the eyes and kind of whispers,
"You're my mom.
You're my mom. You're my mom.
You're my mom now.
You remind me of my mom."
And maybe it's because I had just watched Batman Begins over the weekend, but I couldn't help, because there's a scene where Batman saves his girl, and he's on the roof, and she goes, "You could die." She doesn't know his identity. "You could die. At least tell me your name." And he turns back, and he goes,
"My mom.
You remind me of my mom." Gary, we need to get that scene and then dub in, "You remind me of my mom." Like, don't. And she heard that, like, coming down the back of her neck.
I know.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And like, okay, so I know he meant it in a very wholesome way.
Of course.
Just like coming from
100%.
his background and his experience, he meant it in a wholesome way. But it wasn't taken as such across national television. Like the way that you just kept doing it.
I'm sure he realized it.
The producers
back.
obviously did you dirty by putting like kind of
But you
a
said it
compilation
so
of you
many
saying it, but you
times,
gave him
dude.
so many chances to.
You gave him so many. There were no repeats.
Yeah.
They were all different cuts. I don't care if it's over a 20-minute time span. You can't talk about cuddling with your mom that much. This is coming from. I love my mom. But that being said, it's a very Peter Weber move, right? Yeah, Peter Weber loves comparing women to his mom.
Oh,
This is nothing new. Super nice guy. What I will say, in all seriousness, just not a match for Katie. First of all, looks great dressed like a cult leader. I don't think, I think Mike P might be using this social media platform to start a mega church, because this man, I don't know. I think this guy's got a future as the next what is it, Joel Osment? Is that his name?
Joel Osteen.
Joel Osteen.
Yeah. I think Mike P might be replacing him. Now, we really got rid of that. We cut the fat early in Brendan and Mike P. It was kind of an easy it was kind of an easy transition. It was perfect that Mike P goes out dressed like a character from Touched by an Angel.
Just walking down the dirt path.
I thought he was going to disappear into a ball of light. This was like God sent him down to try to end this fucking devilish show, and then he failed and fell in love with Katie in the process. And God's like, damn it, Mike, come back up, St. Michael. But when it comes to cutting the fat, Katie doesn't waste any time, which is what has made this season so fun. No one is safe. Say what you will. She's one of the most efficient leads the show has ever seen. Peter Weber, again, take note, you doorknob. Like, figure out how to send someone home.
Even Matt James, even Claire, even Tasha, like they all really struggled with getting.
Katie has been just down to business, just sheer efficiency. Like she's running a factory over there.
Like when Mike P said, "I'd rather get my heart broken 100 times than break someone's heart," Katie was thinking,
"Damn,
great,
perfect."
But that works out perfectly, because I would rather break someone's heart than get my heart broken. So it feels like we're a perfect match to break up. Now, let's jump into the rose ceremony. First things first, can we get Greg a tailor for his suit? Did it belong to Yao Ming on draft night, perchance?
The great Kali.
The thing is, I thought he was, at least give him an oxygen tank. I thought he was going to drown in his Katrina storm and his one-on-one. No, the real threat was the suit all along. But dude, Justin over Andrew, we talked about the issues with Andrew's relationship. It still blew my mind. Again, Andrew's a great guy. Look, I've been there. I've been in relationships that, like, they're fun, they're easy, it's comfortable, it's exciting. But there's a ceiling to what those can offer, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
At some point, it's got to elevate, especially over a lifetime. It just, I don't know. I think there's a 0% chance, like we said though, that that it ends up being Michael A, even though he makes it through. I think there's a 0% chance it ends up being Justin. I don't know. Do you guys think that's fair heading into hometowns?
I completely agree with that. Yeah, there's no way. There's no, like, Justin's great, and we love Michael A. I would love to see him win, but it's just.
I would love if Michael A won. Let me say
it can't happen. It just can't.
Yeah, I just don't think it's
from both sides. I don't think either of them are ready. Like, it's just.
I agree. I don't. I'm kind of surprised. Gary and I, you and I kind of had the same opinion on this. I'm kind of surprised Michael A's still here. Like, not the sense that they don't have any compatibility. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I just thought he was going to get cold feet in the sense that, he wasn't sure that Katie would be ready for this kind of responsibility. So I didn't think he'd even make it to hometowns. I thought he would have maybe bowed out before that even occurred. But
I mean, if she was going to cut him loose, this would have been the time. But okay, then we end the rose ceremony. I was like, wait, what the flipping heck is going on? We got 20 minutes left in this bad boy. What are we going to do? I guess a whole lot of nothing.
Pretty much nothing. But it was it was cute.
Yeah, it was cute.
It was very cute. Great circle back from Andrew. It was like a movie scene.
It was.
I guess technically it was pointlessly cinematic, but I did love it. What I will say, pretty misleading note though. Like I loved it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but basically it was like, like, hit me up if if you change your mind, I'll be waiting, ... But he meant, I know what he meant. He meant after the show.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, he
And she
also
runs
said
down the
don't read
stairs.
it now.
Yeah, he wanted to be
Read it
gone.
later.
He wanted to be
Wait
gone.
till I
And you
leave.
can see him scurrying down those stairs. He's like, I know she's not going to fucking wait till I get in the car.
Yeah. Yeah, I also I knew what he meant after the show. Obviously, that's probably the preferable place to meet.
Mhm.
But it just looks so contradictory when he was like, she was like, oh, like if there's a way, can you stay? And he just goes,
How?
no, like it's already happened.
But I respect that. You can't walk
sure.
back. Like, of course not. And yeah, man. But how'd you guys feel about that passionate kiss? Very passionate kiss at the end, though. But
Very passionate.
my thing was like, oh, well, like, yeah, you were kissing 3 hours ago, right? Or whatever it was, 12 hours
Yeah.
ago. So it's not that weird to me to
Yeah.
be like, okay, one final smooch.
All right, David, so let's hear it.
Oh,
Let's
you
hear
want
it.
my
Yeah,
my
I want it
bold
now.
prediction.
I think this
All
is the
right.
perfect transition to it.
Well, okay, it is the perfect transition. And I'm going to say this quickly first about the draft as well,
oh,
because I'm saying I drafted Rachel Kirkconnell last season. In retrospect, I think I will take the victory just because in my mind, I think they were together the whole time. I honestly do.
Yeah,
And
I
I
kinda
think
do
that was for PR reasons. But my thought is like the couple has to be together after the final rose. So
And they are
initially I
now.
was like, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And initially I was like, oh, I don't win because they didn't make it that far. In my head, I think they actually did now that I saw them get back together so quick. But I'm saying whoever drafted Andrew, I have no idea who it was. If they're
Honestly,
together after the final rose
I
dating,
think I have Andrew.
then
I
you
think-
win if they're dating after the final
yeah,
rose.
I got you.
Which
Yeah.
I don't think, this is one of my takes. I don't think that is out of the question. I think they could definitely be dating right now as we're talking. I think Greg may have left or Blake may have not been ready, whatever it may be.
Sure.
So that's one take. But my other bold prediction, it doesn't align with that one. It's one or the other. I guess I'm hedging my bets, covering all my bases. I'm going to tell you right now, mark it down, the next two bachelors of the show. The first one, and I think we can lock this in. I don't know. I think we're getting Ben Smith, Tayshia's season. Lock it in. Army veteran, gorgeous guy, very sensitive, great music taste on Instagram, and a huge following. People love him. And also not controversial. Mental health advocate as well, but also a very safe choice. Then I think we're getting Andrew. I think Andrew is not the next bachelor, but the bachelor after.
Bachelor after.
I think he's a shoo-in.
Dude, young,
Yeah.
very personable, exciting, obviously a handsome guy. But
Yeah.
I think that would be such a fun season. And also, genuinely, I think he's ready to settle. I think he would want to get married if he were on the show. I think that would be his
I think that would be an
primary
awesome
goal.
season. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I think that's what it's going to be back to back. And I honestly feel very comfortable about that. But we'll see. Let's jump into our Rose and our Thorn. Now, if you're new to the show, Rose is our highlight of the show, and Thorn is what we're snipping off. We don't want any thorns in this bouquet. What are we getting rid of in this episode? Shout out to Chicks in the Office. This is kind of a play off of a segment they do on their show. Okay, let's start off with, I don't know, who wants to go first? Who's ready to roll?
Are we starting with a rose or a thorn?
Let's start with a Thorn. I want to get the negatives
Sure.
out of the way.
I'll go ahead. I was kind of contemplating between two possible thorns here.
Yeah.
Let me see which one I want to go with. I'm gonna go with Virgin Mike's mom sentiments.
Yeah.
I just can't let that go.
I didn't even think to write that down. That's a great one. Yeah.
That was just it was really troublesome, and I thought about it quite often after the show. About how freakish it was that he turned to her and said, "You remind me of my mom," and in her mind, "You remind me of my mom." The way Bruce Wayne would say it. So that's gonna be my thorn of the episode.
Great choice, Gary. What you got?
I also had that for Thorn for sure. Like, cut that out. Like, save the guy some fucking. He's gonna get so much shit forever from that, but you know, it makes for great TV. But my other Thorn is actually Katie. I was just thinking about this, cutting the fat, because it makes for everybody that's left has such a good shot at like usually there's at least one or two stragglers that you're like, okay, these guys are out of the race. It's like these two that are front
Or at
runners.
least there's someone who's like a mess, right? Like
Yeah,
when
somebody's a
Victoria
mess.
F
Yeah.
went hometowns
But-
on Peter's season, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah,
what
like
is
she
gonna
was
happen?
not winning, but everybody here is like they all have a chance. I think it's just making it complicated for Katie because she's like,
but at the
"Fuck,
same
who do I
time,
pick?"
like the same time, respect to Katie for getting it like that. Like that's the
Yeah.
ultimate goal is
Hey,
to
She's
picked-
done a masterful
done a-
it
job.
made for a
Yeah,
great
exactly.
season, but I think it's gonna really complicate things. I think that's why I ended
Alright.
early.
Cool.
I honestly do.
I got to one, Justin's art. I think you're a fraud, dude. Sorry. You can come on the show and defend yourself if you want. I think you're a fraud. Second, the football field, man. And honestly, the whole state of New Mexico. I'm sorry
Yeah.
to any New Mexico listeners right now. This whole season looks like a scene out of I Am Legend, dude. Like it looks apocalyptic. This is disgusting. Can we get a date? Like they shouldn't have to have every date with a humidifier, a 2-on-1 date.
looks like the
It's
next
absurd.
the next landscape for the next Fallout game.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into our roses. We'll start with you, Coop. What was one of your highlights of this?
I think my rose has got to be the Andrew's cute exit. I mean, I looked at the clock too and I said, "Oh, what's this next 15 minutes going to be filled with?" Was it anything really substantial? Not really, but I did enjoy him just kind of popping back up, leaving a cute little note like that. And you know what? Like I really like when he said, "I wanted our last interaction or our goodbye to be the same way all our interactions have been, with a smile on our faces." And I really
Bless
like
you for
that.
bringing that up, because that was really
Mhm.
really actually my favorite part of that interaction,
Yeah.
because that was like we just said, it was puppy love. It was fun. It was like that's what defined the relationship, was this happy go lucky attitude. So I really liked it, and it was less pointless, I'll say this, than other like dramatic things that take chunks of the episode in
Absolutely.
previous seasons, right? Like it actually did
Oh.
have something
I even-
substantial.
I even think that had more meaning than throwing a rubbery fish around. So
100%.
And maybe an Easter egg to after
Maybe-
the final rose. We'll
Yeah.
see. All right, Gary, what was yours?
I'm also gonna have to give it to Andrew S. just because the relationship is just purely too real for this show. Like it's just it's very much like you can relate to it. Everything else, like I don't know, Greg's just it feels like he's just there at this point. I don't know. We're kind of out on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Andrew,
He's-
I really hope they're dating right now. I really hope that's the case. Even though it's not, it
That's a
doesn't
great
bode
one.
well for my bracket, but you know what? Whatever.
But whatever. We're here for
We're
love,
here for
baby.
love.
Champions of love.
Yeah.
I have two. Quick one here. Our glimpse of Brendan. We finally got a little bit of like who he is as a person. He actually seemed like kind of a nice guy. We got to hear him talk for more than 3 seconds at a time, and it wasn't about another dude. Yeah, I kind of thought he was a bit of a douche coming in. No, I take it back. Nice enough guy. Sorry, man.
Sorry we didn't get to know
Super
you.
nice guy. Too
Sorry,
nice.
yeah. Maybe we'll get to know you on Paradise. I wonder how that hair would do in the humidity. We were talking about James. Him and
Oh.
James have very opposite problems. I'm wondering
Yeah, that's
how
right.
that'll pan out.
maybe they'll
Um,
exchange products.
You know what I was thinking? Do you remember the Gorilla Glue girl from the beginning of quarantine? The girl who
Yes.
put Gorilla Glue in her hair. I think James might be Gorilla Glue Boy, Chapter 2. I think he may have accidentally put some in pre-show
Just
and was
never dealt
freaking
with
out
it.
about it. That's why we never saw his personality. His mind was always sidetracked about like, what the fuck am I going to do with this glue in my hair? My other one, I just had Andrew S. entering the Bachelor gauntlet, though. A little bit opposite than you guys. I would love to see him with Katie.
Mhm.
I might like to see him single
his
and,
own,
and
yeah.
dating 30 women in a massive mansion, helped out by who would I want? Ooh, I think Ben Higgins wants off the show, but let's get him a good Bachelor dude to help him out. And
Yeah.
Oh, Jason. Oh, we need Jason Tartik to help out Andrew. And let's go. All right, guys, what an episode. And if any of our Bachelor fans, if you want to hear us talk about our lives a little bit, we do a rapid fire question at the beginning of our NBA segment. We're going to be briefly previewing the final couple games of the NBA Finals.
Possibly.
And but if you're tuning out here, rate, review, subscribe, share with friends. Thank you so much. Comment your opinions down below. Tell us if we're right, we're wrong, we're morons, etc. And thank you so much for listening. Okay, guys, let's jump in to our NBA Finals analysis. All right, hello and welcome to our NBA Finals analysis. We promised Caleb Beer. I just remembered that we promised his presence, and he has a tea time at 5:30, I guess. So his world, man, he's just raking in the checks. He's just raking in that MeUndies money. But guys,
we're gonna have to reconsider that. But
we're gonna have to, dude. I don't know why we signed a 10-year contract.
I don't know.
It felt fishy at the beginning, but 8 years from now, he's in for a world of trouble. It is not going to be the same.
Our legal team is going to be on fire.
They're going to be on him like white on rice in 8 to 9 years. All right, let's start off with our rapid fire question, guys. After 2 shocking exhibition losses to Nigeria and Australia, Team USA brought JaVale McGee and Keldon Johnson, aboard the roster to fill the gaps left by others unable to make the games. First of all, shout out to Keldon Johnson, an awesome Kentucky player. I just saw even some NBA sickos were saying, who though? Like, I was very much the gif of the guy, the white guy blinking his eyes.
You knew who Keldon Johnson was, though, did you?
Of course I did. Yeah, Spurs. Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Just a shock.
I knew well because of like the Kentucky connection, but I didn't know if he was somewhat of a household name.
He's been decent in the NBA, but still a surprise. And yet the biggest surprise came when Trae Young made it very public on Twitter that although he wanted to be on the team, he was once again rejected. In response, Young posted a video of Hall of Fame point guard Isaiah Thomas explaining his absence from the 1992 Olympic Dream Team. It was the clip from the infamous The Last Dance documentary where Thomas states, quote, "I don't know what went into that process. I met the criteria to be selected, but I wasn't." Guys, when was the time you met the criteria of something you wanted, but simply weren't selected for a reason that's still beyond you? We'll start with producer Gary. We'll kick it to you in the corner. What you got?
We're going way back to when I played, I guess it would have been like Atom hockey, like 11, 12 years old, around there.
For non-Canadian listeners, that's like house league hockey, I assume. Yeah.
No, I was actually, it was, so house league is like a division. So it's like you're playing house league, you're just playing for fun, no contact, all that stuff. But I was trying out for the A team, which is like a step up, contact, more competitive, everything. And we actually, for one of the tryouts, for like one of the last rounds of tryouts, we had an exhibition game against another team. And I scored the game-winning goal, and I thought I was playing pretty good. I made it to the last round of tryouts. I'm like, yeah, I'm a shoo-in. I'm making this team.
Yeah.
Didn't make the team.
Make it.
Didn't get the letter. And they did like a big thing at the end of the game. They like handed out letters. So it was definitely like they already had their team in mind.
Yeah.
Didn't matter how I played. So they
you may as well have not showed up.
Exactly.
Yeah, you thought that goal locked it up.
Nope. Didn't matter. Didn't make it.
You were so. Oh man. Do you think it was political? Do you think there was some nepotism going
100%.
on? Whoa! Wow.
My dad was pissed. He's like,
"Were your parents commies?"
Yeah, that was the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We emigrated from Russia. It was just big. It
wasn't for you. Fair enough. Oh man, story as old as time. Coop, what you got?
Like you just said, a story as old as time. Very similar. Back in for those of you who are new to the program. Dave and I are very much into basketball. That's our primary sport that we like to participate in.
Yeah.
We are both, I'd like to say, quite good basketball players. We pride ourselves on
for the pickup realm. Yes.
For the pickup, yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is turning the clock back a little bit. It was grade 7, and I'm trying out for my public school basketball team. And we had a grade 6 team, and then you have a grade 7, 8 team. And grade 6, I was on the team, and it's the same coach for the grade 7 team. And I put in the work. I had a good rapport with the coach. You were
doing wind sprints all summer. I remember
wind sprints all summer. I was working hard, and for some reason, I didn't make the team in grade 7. And that was a big blow to me. Yeah. As I said, I very much value the sport of basketball in my life, and I do to this day. And I always think about that experience.
Well, you're leaving a part of it out. When you were in grade 7, you tested positive for ketamine. Let's come on now. You're slandering the coach. Yeah, let's not get the story twisted. Great answer.
I did make it in grade 8 for the record.
There you go.
Ketamine free.
and you've only flourished from there.
Yeah.
I've talked about mine before. When I started at Juncture Magazine, it used to be a magazine, and I had to pay some graphic designers to do graphic design on it, and so I was looking for a part-time job to pay for the magazine at the start of the year, and so I thought, oh, what better way than work at this, really respected business school within our university. They had a little clothing stand for the business school merch. It was like a popsicle stand. It was a little wooden stand. They were looking for a cashier. I'd done retail before. Yeah, I think I could handle a fucking popsicle stand. I've interned at like big media. Like I had just turned down a contract as like for an actual career, and I was putting my ego aside.
You're a mogul.
Well, I was
And
fucking mogul.
you just graduated from this
You're also
university.
a university graduate.
Yeah.
So.
I was qualified. Like, let's just say I was qualified to fold fucking t-shirts. And I go in for the interview. I do a phone interview. It went fantastic. Then they say it was like an hour-long phone interview.
I'm surprised they conduct interviews at all.
It was absurd. It should have been first come, first serve. First one to touch the stand wins. Like, congrats. You get to fucking look over this metal cash box for half an hour a week. And so I go in for the second interview. I'm like dressed to the nines. This woman comes, she's dressed to the nines. Like, I thought I was going to be overdressed. And I was like, oh my God, okay, yeah, it's a big deal. I go in, there's 2 other women in the room. It's a 3-person interview with me over a t-shirt stand. And we're going through all these hypothetical scenarios. And I'm sweating, but I feel like I'm just above water. Go ahead, Coop. Yeah.
May I interrupt? Can you give us an example of what one of those questions may have been?
Yeah,
the hypothetical.
there was a lot of hypotheticals. Like, what was a scenario in which you set up a plan in your workplace, things change the day of, and you
like you run out of size of shirts
during a project.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. One time the power went off at Party City at high school, and I went home. And dude, we get to the interview, and at the very end of the interview, I felt fine. They go, so last thing here, and we were just wondering if you could you outline your general business plan in order to increase sales? In fact, no, I can't because I don't have one, because this stand is a popsicle stand because it's made of wood and falling apart, and I'm selling $100 sweatshirts. It was so I didn't get it. And then they emailed me like, oh, we went with someone. They literally said in the email, more qualified. Oh, good to them. I wonder what they're up to now. I have a goddamn podcast. Yeah, they have a PhD. They're a doctor of t-shirt sales. All right, guys, let's jump into our NBA Finals analysis. Now, this is tough, man. We're recording this on July 20th. They play tonight. This comes out on the 21st. So when you listen to this, the Bucks may have won the championship. The Bucks are leading 3-2 right now over the Suns after a fairly dominant 3 quarters to close out Game 5. So we don't know, but we're previewing it either way. And if it goes to Game 7, or then okay, then you will.
And you'll find some
relevant.
some relevancy in
and
this
if it's
podcast.
Not, then we're still looking at the reasons why this series has turned in the Bucks' favor. And one of those reasons was that Game 5 was certainly the most complete game from the Bucks, especially in terms of their stars producing. I mean, Holiday and Middleton, when Giannis went out at the end of that Hawks series, the whole thing was like, oh man, they were okay. They were carrying without Giannis. They're ready to produce in the finals. And then once Giannis came back, they took a step back. And now it took them 4 games, but they finally returned. Giannis did his thing, put up 32, but then Middleton, 29 points. Holiday, a huge 27 points. And Beer's missed the last 2 games. That's or the last 3 games, I guess, because there were 2 games in a week. Like the Bucks have won 3 in a row since Beer last appeared on this very podcast. And I don't know if that's an accident. I was about to text him after the first quarter of Game 5. Literally, I was about to say, oh, you're good. Like, especially Holiday was in foul trouble. Bud took him out, and like good for Bud and for not panicking and being too conservative with Drew's minutes. It was impressive resolve, but I thought it was over. I texted him like, you're good. No, he was not good indeed. Everything was going Phoenix's way. Young guys were scoring. the Bucks weren't moving the ball, and then they erased the deficit by halftime. I couldn't believe it. Coop, what were your thoughts on this game? Because it was such a turning point in the series, even more so than Game 4. I found, just because it was such a complete effort. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, after the Hawks series, when Giannis was out for a bit, we were looking to see if Middleton was, going to play to the level that he's being paid for. Is Drew Holiday going to step up? And then Giannis comes back, and you know what? They kind of carried out this this performance throughout the entire series. People are saying, I think it was CJ McCollum tweeted, if the Bucks win, he says, he cleared it up in a secondary tweet. He said, yes, Giannis is the Finals MVP, but how many Finals MVP votes is Chris Middleton getting, as kind of at the very least,
I know what he means. But
yeah, exactly.
It's going to Giannis. What are we even talking about?
It's going to Giannis 100%.
It doesn't matter. He should get no. It should be unanimous. What are we talking about?
It should be no votes. But it just shows you that other guys around the league do recognize Chris Middleton's performance and how valuable it's been to the series.
Very valuable. And the other star that we touched on as well, Holiday on the defensive end. Say what you will about him offensively. He's been a beast all series. Does not matter how cold he's been offensively. Other side of the ball, he has been dominant. And that strip of CP3 to end the game was it was emblematic of all the disruption he's caused this entire series. And it led to Giannis's, dude, first of all, Giannis gets way too much hate. And I was skeptical of the Bucks, but I fucking love that we have a young superstar that's this dominant at 25, 26 years old. You compare him to a young Shaq. This guy's like, he's built like a young Wilt Chamberlain. He's running the floor. Yeah. He's this absurdly dominant. He now has 2 signature finals moments before 26. He has the block on Ayton. And he has that dunk with Chris Paul, who I love Chris Paul. A blatant cheap shot. Whoa, come on.
Didn't love that.
Oh, tough.
And that could end poorly. That could end the guy's career.
And both of those plays were off of Giannis's injured leg, the block and the dunk.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, we thought he was done for the year with that hyperextended knee. He comes back, he's been dominant. And look, we just mentioned Chris Paul played fine, but not good enough. 21 points, 11 assists, 1 single turnover. It doesn't sound bad, but that's not MVP level dominance.
No,
it's the finals.
It's not. Talking about the hyperextended knee too. I was thinking, because I also noticed that both that dunk and the block were both off that leg. Like, how much pain is he playing through? And it just makes me think. How much could you possibly want this to be able to just to do that to your body, which it kind of baffles me and amazes me quite honestly.
It is crazy. You're so right. I bet we're going to hear after that he was fighting through an injury the entire time. And it's like, okay, well, you're in the, fair enough. It's so tough to balance, especially something like a hyperextended knee, because we saw Kevin Durant, that led to a far more serious injury.
Well, exactly. When you compensate for a current injury, you're likely to cause a whole new one, right? So.
Yeah. And we can't ignore, very, very solid game from the Bucks, but we can't ignore the dominance of Devin Booker. He was incredible. He was the first player to have back-to-back 40-plus games in the finals in losses.
Yeah.
But everyone else was just watching, dude. It was crazy. Yeah. The second quarter, it literally looked, even Chris Paul, that's not a recipe for success. You can't have the Bucks whipping the ball around, and then Phoenix, it's one-on-one, and then the rest of the 8 guys on the floor just watching. If you look at the box score, it looks fine. If you didn't watch the game and then just looked and you go, okay, Ayton has 20.
When you watch it, it tells you a whole different story. I think it was the third quarter. Booker and Middleton went back and forth, probably about close to 12 points each. The 2 of them kind of had a showdown. Middleton kind of kept it up. Booker kind of cooled off a bit, but that was just the thing. I mean, Middleton still had, a bunch of other guys on the floor who were producing, whether it was Giannis or Holiday or whoever, where poor Devin Booker tried to just shoot out of it, and he just wasn't hitting anything, but he wasn't getting any support from anybody.
It's weird, man. Like, yeah, I mean, 20-10 from Ayton, 21-11 from CP3. Booker had 40 points. Suns shot 13 of 19 from downtown. You look at that, you'd assume they absolutely pounded the Bucks.
Yeah.
But there was too much standing around, like we said, watching from everyone else in the final 3 quarters. The ball movement got the Suns to this point. That's what made them such a fascinating team. And they abandoned it to watch Booker. I think he should be looking to make more himself too. As great of a scorer as he is. Yeah, I think we need to see him facilitating more.
We know, and he knows, and I guess his teammates know, like he can put up 40 points a night, right? But that unless you're getting your teammates involved, like it's just simply not going to be enough. And like you said, the box score, sure, it shows that Ayton was involved. It shows that Chris Paul was involved. But when you watch the game, it's not really that teamwork type of basketball that the Suns got to this point on.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll do a quick we'll give our updated predictions going into tonight. I mean, it's kind of dumb, might not matter, but we'll be able to see if we were right in retrospect. But here's a little fun stat before I ask you. 21 out of 21 times, or 21 out of 29 times, I should say, that's 81% of the time, the Game 5 winner of a 2-2 series in the finals goes on to win the title. 81% of the time. So that Game 5 was very, very pivotal. The key, we mentioned it, it's ball movement for both teams. The team that's managed to get their secondary stars involved has controlled the game. So I think like the big three, I think both teams have a very definable top 3 players, obviously. And I think it comes down to Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton. Like how much can those guys keep moving the ball, keep the offense flowing, not isolation heavy when Devin Booker gets in foul trouble, when he needs a breather, etc. So, all right, let's Game 6 prediction though. I'm gonna be up to. I think the Suns are pushing it to 7. What? I think the Bucks are winning. I think I said Suns in 6, and I'm wrong. Shout out to the Bucks. Prove me wrong. Foot's in my mouth. Giannis strolling to the Finals MVP. What are your thoughts? You think it's over tonight, or
I want to put my faith in the Suns tonight. I think they'll fight it off, but like you said, I don't think they can fight them off 2 more times. I just don't think they can do it. So I'm gonna go Bucks in 7 now. All
right, we will see. Now, guys, if you've watched or listened to our NBA aspect, I'll tell you again: rate, review, subscribe, and you've been doing it. You've been doing it. The ratings have been going up. The subscriptions have been going up. The views have been going up. We love it, love it, love it. Leave your thoughts in the comments section if you'd like. Feel free to reach out to us on Instagram at Juncture Magazine. Thank you so much for listening. We have a ton of fun doing this, so I hope you have a ton of fun listening. Producer Gary, remember though, before we go,
a wet bird never flies at night.
A wet bird never flies at night. Thank you, and peace.